what's the secret? And obviously they're going to say, well, the secret is there's no secret. Lock in, go hard, we get the gist, cardio, calories, but that's not fun. That's not a fun answer. So if I could give you anything that's a little more detailed or potentially eye-opening, I wouldn't say that the secret is there's no secret. I would say the secret, as much as I could say what the secret is between, guys who really get after it and guys who don't, is kind of laid out in that situation as it is right there. So if you're looking around and everybody around you has similar level results and they're all training in a similar way to each other, be it intensity, consistency, their just overall effort, their I don't want to say just drive, but just how on it they are. If their level is right here, if you can bring it to here and keep it there, before you know it, guess what? The difference is going to be rather noticeable. I'm talking to a degree where it's like, they're going to come in and ask you, what kind of curls have you been doing, man? What kind of squats? And you're doing the same curls as them. You're just going harder. You know what I'm saying? So it's more so along the lines of, if you want to be, or if you want to get somewhere nobody's ever been, you got to do something nobody's ever done. If you want to be better than you've ever been, you got to do something you've never done, that sort of thing. So let's say you feel like you're kind of plateaued, you've been at the same 225 for 10 for a while. What can you add? What can you pull out of your arsenal into your deck of cards that's going to make you have an advantage as a lifter? Have you been tracking your calories? Have you been making sure you get the right amount of proteins in? Have you been resting? Have you been training consistently? Have you been, keeping a freaking jug of water on you at all times with some electrolytes so you can stay hydrated? Have you, just a million things like that. And for the most part, we all know them. We don't need them to be listed out. Obviously, train harder. Obviously, if I want to keep growing, I got to eat more and eat better, in the sense of foods that are weight gain focused, or just keep your energy expenditure up, add cardio, get more steps in. It's the answer's right there. The tricky part is, there's a lot of guys where they're talking the talk, but you put them behind closed doors. You have them come into the gym and do legs, and nobody that they know is there. Nobody's gonna know I skipped legs today. Should I just do arms? Yeah, nobody's gonna know here. Right? That's the kind of stuff that really makes up, what would you call it? 90% of life? At least imagine your own personal decisions. Let's just cut it down to a day, right? How many things do you decide in the process of just a 1 day span that anybody even really knows about, right? You decided to drive this way instead of that way. You decided to eat this instead of that. You decided to stay up this late instead of going to bed early. None of it's policed, right? Assuming you're at least, getting close to adult range or even upper teenager, you're not being babied. Right? It's your life. You're literally holding the wheel. Whatever happens is kind of up to you, So that's where I feel like you've almost got a certain. That truck is really smoking, but that's where you've got kind of a certain. I don't want to say responsibility, but kind of obligation to yourself, where it's all right, well, nobody's going to make my gains for me. Nobody's going to put me anywhere special. And I guess I may as well, if I want to, I may as well go for it, And I guess it's probably true. Not everybody wants it, but that's not a cool way to look at it, So how I'm looking at it is, if you got the majority who want it but aren't willing to do it, then that minority who wants it and is willing to do it is the group that you want to be in, right? That's the in crowd. That's the guy that he doesn't have to tell you a million times, my metabolism is getting in the way of my diet. I don't know, man. I gotta, a million different kind of excuses. The guy does a dieting phase and he gets diced. It's not a question of if, because he knows that he's capable of doing it. It's not even something he thinks about. It's just how he rolls, So that's the kind of lifter that I like the most, where the idea of kind of just, devotion and stick-to-itiveness to the things that they say that they're going to do isn't questionable. It's not a question. That's how they roll. For them to do anything else would be strange, and it's kind of tricky to get there, because in the beginning you might kind of, I don't want to say have to, be like a poser, but people are going to look very differently at the 280-pound bodybuilder eating like, a big bowl of just plain tuna out of a can with rice versus the 160-pound kid eating the same meal, because they're going to look at the bodybuilder and be like, oh yeah, that's how he's eating that because he's got to be on point with his whatever, and it makes sense, but for the beginner, you don't really have the results yet to kind of prove that everything you're doing is working. So that's when you really got to kind of lock in the sense of like, if somebody talks smack on you, don't even register it. You're doing what you're going to do. Give it some time, right? Because before you know it, and I think everybody can relate to this at least to a degree. Think back when you graduated high school. Think back when you benched 225 for the first time. Think back to whenever. It feels like that. Like it's nothing. It just, this time is passing by at a freaking blistering speed. And, some might look at that and think, it's almost, it's kind of like a relativity sort of problem, with things that are fun and enjoyable, it feels like they go by in a moment. But if you have a perspective that something is like just annoying or just feels like work or it's a fucking chore, then it's going to feel like it takes forever, So for someone who's never worked out before, they're not really into it just yet, all they can see is the fact that it's going to take them years and years and years to reach the level of like, whoever guy they might look up to. Whereas, whoever that dude may be it like a freaking Olympia bodybuilder, like I was saying before, they would probably, I'm pretty sure I would not flip, or I would not blink before I flipped a switch that would let me go back in time and start working out all over from the beginning. Just because I'd be able to get to do it all again, plus I'd probably be smarter anyway. So I would assume I'd get even better results than I managed to get on this first sort of go around, So it's kind of just a mental training in a way to get yourself amped up and excited about the things that most people are going to be kind of turned off by, and extra amped and excited about the fun parts. You kind of have to sort of raise your baseline level of enjoyment from, like, imagine this is zero. This is cool and fun. This is annoying and work, right? This is kind of like the natural order of things. When it comes to working out or any sort of thing you really want to get extra passionate about, you've got to raise the bar so that it's no longer like 50% positive, 50% negative. You've got to raise it so you're excited about every portion that goes along with it. So it's freaking 50% incredibly exciting and fun, and then the other 50% you're still looking at because it's fun, but maybe just not so much. There's definitely a difference between 30 minutes of cardio and the pinnacle of everything, getting to freaking pose down or like go up on stage and just compete and things like that. But you gotta look at it like it's fun, right? If you're going on a family vacation and all you're doing is complaining the whole time, guess what? That trip is gonna suck because you're coming at it from the wrong mentality. So that's I know that's kind of like self-help-ish, speech, kind of motivational sort of stuff.